Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this week's Parsha Achrei Kedoshim. Another double whammy. We got two in a row. It happens. Depends. It's sort of connecting, making sure that we get to what's it called again? For Simchas Torah. Sorry, we're by Simchas Torah that we finished the parsha. Sorry, I apologize. I just completely spaced that. Right, so it's a Parsha Achrei Kedoshim. So we spoke about a few things last year. I want to home in just on a few very important topics. They're all important topics. So a few topics, and sort of hopefully this will help us get into the also build our mood and our growth during this period every day, all the time, especially during this period as we get closer to the holiday of Shavuos. So if you go to page 636 in the Hebrew, page 637 in the English, beginning of Parsha Achrei, so it says Achrei Vaydaber Sham El Moshe, chapter 16, verse 1, right? After the two sons of Aaron died, right? When they came close to the Holy of Holies, as it was a few weeks, parshas ago, right? And they died during there. So, and then it speaks about that you shouldn't come into the Kodesh anytime you want, and it speaks about that whole idea of when you could go into the Holy of Holies and when you can't go into the Holy of Holies. So the commentaries all ask, why did the Torah have to tell us after the children of Aaron died? Right? Like, just say that God spoke to Moses saying, when you go into the Holy of Holies, just be careful. Okay, why did that happen? Maybe because the children of Aaron died and they went into the Holy of Holies. What's the purpose of having to mention this was after the children of Aaron died? What's the purpose of that? So there's many different ideas that the commentaries say. Some don't directly answer this question directly. Some say there's a concept that it's saying, and I don't want to get into. There's a famous joke that is said. There's some truth to it. It says, Achrei Mos, right? After they died, right? Then we consider them b'kruvosam. Then people want to get close to them. People want to get holy to them, right? There's this idea after people die. Then he was my best buddy. He's so holy, so this. And while they're alive, they don't really know them. They don't really connect with them, or they don't take the opportunity to connect with them, right? And sort of just something to reflect on, that we have to try to get to know people while they're alive. But that's sort of like a play on words. But the commentaries explain. Rashi alludes to this and others, that Hashem wanted to make sure that Aaron understands the severity, right? By saying, look, according to a lot of opinions, one of the reasons why the children of Aaron were killed because he went into the Holy of Holies without permission, right, without the proper time. So he said, it's like, I remember one time our science teacher brought in pictures of two lungs, right? One lung, he said, was like all dirty, and the other lung was clear. He said, this lung is of a smoker, right? And this lung is someone that doesn't smoke and lives out in the, what's it called, like in Nowheresville, not polluted, right? And then in between lung, someone that does not smoke, but lives in polluted. So he showed it to us, not just saying, oh, your lungs get dirty, whatever. No. He actually showed it to us. He actually went ahead and he showed us what the lungs look like. And that's what Rashi alludes to, that's what Hashem was trying to do. It wasn't trying to say, oh, look, your children died, right? He was trying to say, just like, be careful I'm telling you how careful to be, and I'm telling this after your children die because of that Avera, right? So I'm warning you about that. And the lesson that we're supposed to take out of this, it's a lot of lessons. One of the lessons that we're supposed to take out of it, and of course for the explanation of the verses, but one of the lessons that we could take out of this is that when we want to educate. We want to instill certain things into the next generation, or to our friends or our colleagues, or we want to, not necessarily it's our place to instill, but to educate. Do it through actions, right? So over here it's, look, be careful because they died. You could also do it through actions of, look how beautiful. Come to my Pesach Seder. Come to Shavuos. Come to synagogue with me. Come, right? Invite them and do through actions. Sometimes it's an action of, hey, look, the famous thing. A parent took his. I don't know if it's true or not, but a kid was acting up, so he got some of his buddies, in the police force to arrest the kid and put him in jail for the night. Right. Now I'm not saying to go that far, right? Like the kid learned, okay, I'm gonna stay out of trouble, right? That's a little, harsh love, right? But through actions, through people seeing things, right? Not just being a concept, but actually showing. And Judaism is a religion of action. It's a religion of day-to-day activities, right? So when we want to be that positive influence on people, be it if it's our children, our grandchildren, our friends and neighbors, our synagogue, do it through actions. Be the one that's there in shul. Be the one that helps set up. Be the one that doesn't speak lashon hara. Do it through actions. That makes a much bigger impact than giving a lecture all the time. And of course, you need those lectures, but through actions, it's much greater. So that's one lesson that we can learn from this week's parsha. We're going to jump a little bit to chapter 18. I'm like, I don't know, my words are like all over the place today. Chapter 18, the beginning of chapter 18. So it goes through all the service of Yom Kippur, right? That's the beginning of this week's parsha, right? Goes through all the services of Yom Kippur. Mostly that's what it talks about. And now over here, the chapter starts off. God spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the Jewish people and tell them, I am Hashem Elokeichem, I am Hashem your God." And then verse 3, that's what I want to talk about. K'mashe Eretz Mitzrayim asher yishavtam, the actions of the people of Mitzrayim that you live there. Don't do them. And the actions of the people of Canaan that I'm bringing you to, right? Do not do them. Do not go in their laws and in their ways of doing things. So the simple explanation of the verse is where you came from and where you're going to. So why did God pick these two? Right? It's not only these two, it's also the Japanese. It's also, all the actions of that's not based off Torah law, don't do. So why did he pick these two? Right? So the simple explanation, which has a tremendous lesson to it, is because these are the two nations that have the greatest influence on the Jewish people, right? They just came from there. That's where they were living the last 210 years, right? So be careful. I know you learned from them. I know you lived there. I know you were influenced by them, and you saw their advertisements, and you saw their shows, and you saw their this, and you lived in their culture. Make sure that their culture don't do like them, right? And you're going into Eretz Canaan, right? That's where you're going into. So be aware. You're going to a new place. Oh, it's new. It's a new thing. It's a new place, right? Let's, Also, make sure that you don't learn from them. This was a danger that happened in the early 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s, when Jews came to America. The Naya Medina, there was in Yiddish, the new Medina, the new country, and they threw away their Judaism. Right? A lot of them threw away the Judaism. Look, over here you work on Sabbath, so they worked on Sabbath. Oh, we're going to lose our job. So, and they said it's a Naya Medina, new country. We could do new things, and that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was warning them. God was warning them, don't do like the people of Canaan. Don't be like them. And also the people that you came from, as those have the most influence on you. And I think the lesson is evident, right? Staring you in the face, that we have to be aware also the people that have the most influence on us, it's our culture, our country, right? Of course, we're very grateful for living here and we have to keep their laws, right? But their culture, the way of living, what's important, what's not important, right? That's not our ideal. That's not what we believe in, right? What is considered right and wrong, right? If it goes against the Torah, we can't do that. What is considered socially acceptable and not socially acceptable, if it's not in the ways of the Torah, lo sasikmam, do not do like them, right? And the people that not only the country but our friends and our family or our neighbors, right? If we are scared of being influenced by them in the wrong way, so then we have to be careful and we can't act like that. We have to be strong, right? And that's the simple explanation, that the people that you're most connected with, be careful not to allow them to be influenced. So therefore, the Torah goes ahead and gives a specific warning not to do like them, not to be influenced by them, and not to do like them, because they have the most influence on you. And that's what we can learn from in our daily lives. The people that have the most influence on us, if they are not giving us a positive influence because they're not going the ways of the Torah, right? It's not necessarily our place to tell them what to do, maybe, but at least we have to be careful and we have to make sure to stay strong, right? And not to be influenced with them. So that's one explanation. And that's a simple explanation. I saw Moshe Feinstein said something very interesting. He takes it a different level. He says, why these two nations, right? So he says, because maybe you'll say, well, listen, what happens in Japan, what happens, in other places, we don't know. Okay, so we want to do their actions, bad actions, we don't know, right? But we lived in Mitzrayim, and you know what? We saw some things that seemed to be good, right? Maybe the way they did something, maybe that it seems like a good idea, right? Maybe it's a new way of looking at things. It's not so bad. It's not so, right? So he says even what that's not the Torah tells us what to do, right? Again, if it's we're not talking about following their laws of taxes and this and that. We're talking about ways of acting, right? The Torah, get it from the Torah. We have Pirkei Avos, we have the Torah. We have lessons from the Torah. Everything that we need, everything that's good is in the Torah, and everything that's not good, the Torah tells us also. So don't say, well, I'll learn from, from them what. No, because once you start learning from them this, and then you learn from them that, and then maybe it doesn't have everything. We have to be very careful. If being influenced is a tremendous power, right? And it's a gradual power. It's something that happens gradually. It's not something that hits you in the face. I'm okay. No, but it's a gradual thing because it's a little bit here and a little bit there, right? As we very well know, right? Look at our society, right? 25, 30 years ago, right? Some things that are talked about now would never even be brought up, right? There would have been a taboo conversation, right? You crazy, right? Even the people now that are saying whatever, there's evidence of statements and things that they would, right? But gradually, a gradual comment there and a casual comment there. And then there was a movie that was, oh my gosh, it was okay, don't watch that movie that had, this. And then, okay, but then, I don't watch it. So we do, it's terrible. How can you do, okay, but there was just a movie. It's just a movie. They don't really mean it. And then slowly but surely there's an article on this and then, and then you see something and then slowly but surely something. And it's a gradual influence. These things are gradual influence. That's how influence works. And therefore we have to be very careful. Right? We have to be very careful from influence that it's a good thing. No, let's see what the Torah says. Let's see what our rabbis say, right? If they say it's good, so then okay, we could take things from there's wisdom amongst the nations, but we have to make sure that even that what seems okay, right, or good, we have to make sure that there's no hidden influence that's happening in there, because that's how influence happens. We're not today going to go ahead and serve idols, right? But slowly but surely, and then you can end up there, right? That's how influence works. So it says Ramosha, that because since these are countries that you lived in, say, okay, yeah, they were bad and this and that, but there was something good that we could learn from. No, you have to be careful, even something that's good, to make sure that you get it cleared, right, by your rabbi, sort of, right? And that's what Ramosha says. So that's one idea. In the same chapter, there's a few verses later, right? So verse 5, if you turn the page, on page 650, right? So it says, "Ushmartem es chukosai," you should watch my laws, right? My decrees, ves mispatai asher yaso some adam, right? And my laws that a man or a person should do. V'chai behem ani Hashem. You live by them, and I am Hashem. Right? So from verse 1 to verse 5, it's sort of a very empowering sort of how to live our lives. Right? Don't be like Mitzrayim, and you should do my chukim, and realize that when you do the mitzvahs, chai behem, you'll live by them. So the simple, again, just the basic reading is that through the mitzvahs, that's how we live, right? We live through the mitzvahs, and when we do the mitzvahs, we are considered alive, right? Because we're elevating our neshama, and we're getting away from the physical connection to this world, right? And that's what the mitzvahs do. On a little deeper level with the same concept, right? We know it's brought down that every mitzvah has a connection to the different parts of the body, right? The positive mitzvahs and the negative mitzvahs. So chai b'hen means to say that even your physical body needs you to be doing the mitzvahs because they're against the different parts of the body. On a little deeper level, but sort of still working within the same thing. V'chai behem, ani Hashem, I am Hashem means to say your whole purpose of living is to be able to do the mitzvahs, right? That's really our whole purpose of living, is to be able to do the mitzvahs, to be able to put on tefillin, to be able to wear a yarmulke, to be able to not speak lashon hara, to be able to make a blessing of our food, to be able to eat kosher, to be able to keep Shabbos. Again, each one of us on our level, but taking that next step, right? But that's our purpose. Our purpose is to chabem, to live. Ani Hashem, I am Hashem. The mitzvahs is our purpose of living, says Hashem. That's why I created you. I'm the one that created you. I'm the one that created the world. I'm telling you, what is your purpose? We all want to know what our purpose in life is. It's to do the mitzvahs and grow spiritually and get closer to Hashem. That's our purpose. And that's what the Torah is telling us over here, right? V'chai behem, and live through them, means to say, of course, that the mitzvahs are connected to different parts of our body, and but on all these things come to the deeper level of saying the chai behem means to say you should live by them. That's a purpose of our existence, right? The purpose of our existence is to do the mitzvahs, right? That's what it is, right? It's not extra credit, right? It's not extra credit. It's not being holy. I mean, you become holy through doing the mitzvahs, but that's our purpose. That's what it is, right? Oh, look, I should get okay. Little kids need brownie points, or get a lollipop when they come to shul, right? But oh yeah, of course, but that's your purpose, and that's what you need to do, right? That's like it's like someone walking into the office. Hey, I came to work today. Like you're supposed to come to. You want to get a paycheck? Like otherwise you're going to get docked, right? Or you're going to get fired, right? So I don't mean to be so callous. Of course, we need to encourage people, and we're not holding on a level. But really, if one wants to just stop and really think about it on a very black and white way of looking at things, right? That's our purpose, right? Our purpose is chai behem. That's our purpose of being in this world, is to do the mitzvahs. That's what it is, right? Now, we're going to skip to, and ties right into this, skip to page 656, Parsha's Kedoshim, right? Kedoshim Tiu, Vaydaber Shalom Moshe Lemar Daba B'nei El Kol Adas B'nei Yisrael, speak to all the Jewish people, V'amar to them and tell them, Kedoshim Tiu, Ki Kadosh Ani Hashem Lokechem, be holy, because I am holy, I am Hashem your God, right? So the commentaries explain that there's a level of chai behen, the mitzvahs are living, and then kedoshim tiyon, but then there's a higher level. The next madrega, the next level is kedoshim tiyon, be holy. You have to elevate yourself. You have to take yourself higher, right? And we have that ability. The Nachmanides learns kedoshim tiyon, kadosh atzmecha b'mutalach. How do we take that next level, right? Is by making yourself holy, what's permitted to you, right? There's certain things that are permitted, right? We're allowed to take a stroll on the street, right? Okay, if there's if it's on Shabbos and it's going out of the tchum, then you're not allowed to. If you have things in your pocket and there's no air, then you're allowed. But just taking a stroll, you're allowed to, right? You're allowed to go to work, right? You're allowed to eat food. You have to make a blessing, but you have to allow. So there's things that are permitted, means to say they're not a positive mitzvah or they're not a negative, right? They're sort of what we would call parav, right? They're not putting on tzitzis or putting on mezuzah or right, but it's sort of our daily lives. It's what we do, right? Our mutalach, it's permitted. It's not permitted, right? As long as you're not doing it in a way that's not permitted. So in that category of things, which is a lot of things in our lives, right? A lot of things in our lives are sort of in that category. Kadosh atzmecha b'mutalach. Make yourself holy with what's permitted to you. Make sure that what is permitted to you, your stroll, your eating, make sure you elevate everything, right? And sometimes, say, okay, maybe I don't need that. Maybe, yes, I'm okay. I gave my 10% of tzedakah, right? So I did my mitzvah, I did my obligation. But I'm thinking of taking my third $50,000 vacation this year, right? So you're allowed to. There's nothing wrong with it, right? You're going to go to a place that has kosher food, right? And you're going to be fine, and you're going to put on your tefillin, and everything's fine. There's no prohibitions going on, right? It's mutalach. You're allowed to. The question is, maybe you could elevate yourself. Maybe that $50,000, okay, so your third vacation, right, or second, whatever it is, or maybe you could make a $25,000 vacation instead of a $50,000 vacation, and kaddish it, and take that $25,000 and give it to tzedakah, right? So kaddish atzim, you gave your 10%. You're 100%. You gave your 10%. You fulfilled the obligation, but now you could make yourself even more holy by giving more tzedakah than the 10%. With permission. What's it called again? You ate, but now you want to hear another bracha, right? So you come to shul, you didn't hear your temper. You want to answer a main, right? So you're allowed to do that. Or your thoughts of how you elevate your thoughts. I'm taking a walk because I want to recognize Hashem in His glory and connect to it. There's so many ways that we could make ourselves holy. We could think of the action that we're doing. Number one, I'm allowed to do it, but do I need to do that? Right? Okay, maybe I could, instead of doing that, maybe I could go to a shir, right? There's nothing wrong with watching the football game. Don't get me wrong, right? Nothing wrong with it, right? I like watching it too, right? But, right, maybe if someone told me there's a shir, there's Monday night partners in Torah. Okay, so now it's not Monday night football, but there's Monday night football. So you know what? I could hear afterwards what the score was. It's not. Let me go learn, right? Now, okay, there's a positive of learning. There's a mitzvah. Every second you learn, you get a mitzvah. But you're not holding it on a level to say that I'm going to be maybe called for not learning that time. But you're elevating yourself. You say, you know what? I'm gonna change my schedule. I'm gonna go learn. Right? So there's so many things that we could elevate ourselves. So first we spoke about chai behen. What is our obligation is to do the mitzvahs and to listen to the laws, not to do the positive mitzvahs and not to do the negative mitzvahs. Right? Everything that's written in there. That's what chai behen. That's our lives. That's our purpose. Right? That's of course we get holy by doing that. Right? But that's what we have to do. And now Kedoshim to you, elevate yourself. We also have this ability to go above and beyond. But as the Nachmani says, Ramban says, elevate yourself to what's permitted to you, right? It means to say, look at your life and say, okay, I'm dotting the I's and crossing the T's. I'm good. But now could I put a little more creativity into this paragraph, right? Could I put a little more spirituality into my lives? Right? How could I do that? Let's look and say, I want to kaddish. I want to make myself more holy. I could give a little more tzedakah. I could open up a sefer. If I'm home, I could listen to another shir. I could go to whatever it is that we do, right? We could elevate ourselves, right? And that's what Kedoshim to you is coming to teach me. Right? Many other things coming to teach me. That's one of the things that's coming to teach me, that we have this ability to elevate ourselves and take ourselves above, right? This level of just don't get me wrong, right? Halavai means to say, I wish, right? Halavai, right? Halavai that I live my life as b'chai behem, right? I wish that I am able to live my life on a day-to-day basis, realizing that this is my purpose, right? And there's no other purpose. We aim for that. We work on it. But it doesn't mean to say just because I might not, there's HR, there's even inclination. But it doesn't mean to say that I can't also work on simultaneously of Kedoshim Tiyu, right? It's not a conflict. The two things are not a conflict. And on the contrary, when I work on Kedoshim Tiyu, it'll help me to be able to, because since I'm going to sort of take a jump and elevate myself more, so it'll help me to be able to overcome my daily challenges of making sure that I live my life as chai behen. Right? So it's something to think about. It's a little deeper idea today, right? But I think it's an important idea to reflect on our just our daily lives and where we're holding and what we're doing and what's our purpose. And again, during the Sphere Somer, that's really a time of reflection. Every day is a time of reflection, but during the Sphere Somer, especially, right? And we have these two mandates. We have this mandate of Chai Behem, which we have to work on, and it's not easy. And each one of us are on different levels, and we have to take that next step to get closer, to be able to live our lives as fully Torah Jews. All right, that's the word I like. I don't like Orthodox, Reform, and Conservative. Torah Jews, right? To live our lives as fully Torah Jews. Simultaneously, it's not a conflict. We could also work on living a life of Kedoshim Tiyu, of elevating ourselves, looking into our lives and say, okay, where could I put a little more spirituality on things that I might be allowed to do, but there's no special thing that's going on with it, right? So how could I elevate myself? So those two things are are not a conflict and something that we could simultaneously work on. And those are really will help us to structure our lives. And once we put this as sort of our mandate and what's guiding us, then we'll see our schedules change, our priorities change, our what's important. Oh my gosh, I have to. No, you know what? If that's a conflict of Shabbos, I won't do that. Right? I don't have to do that. It's okay. Life's going to move on. Right? Oh my gosh, look, I've been giving money to whatever. Okay, that's a nice thing, but you know what? I want to use my money now to bring more Jewish education or to help the synagogue. Right? So shift my things, whatever it is. Our guidelines and our priorities change once we start living our lives in a different direction. Okay, let's move on. We're going to move to same chapter, verse. Where I wrote this wrong. Oh, verse 14. So verse 14 says, the second part of the verse says, Lo site michshol, right? In front of a blind person, do not put a stumbling block, right? So literally it means don't put a stumbling block in front of a blind person. But the Talmud tells us it also means to say that one should not give bad advice. One should not, send someone the wrong way. Along the lines that we're going, it has, of course, all those simple and not simple, but straightforward explanations. But along the same lines that we're going, the commentaries say also, like we spoke about influence, right? We have to be careful that we sometimes don't even realize that we're being a lifnei iver lo sita michshol, we're putting a stumbling block in front of someone, right? Let's say someone that goes to a shir, right? To a weekly share, and you make a barbecue that night, right? And you invite them, and it's, oh my gosh, it's like my family, whatever. So you're putting a potential stumbling block in front of them. You don't mean to, right? But you're putting a potential stumbling block, a spiritual stumbling block in front of them, right? Because they might not now go to this. Maybe if they ask a question, what should I do? But you, as an individual, has to be thinking about also other people, right? When you're making the other people's schedule, that if you didn't know, okay, you didn't know. But if you know, right? So think about it. That's just a simple. Or in shul, you're sitting, you bump into whatever. You don't say sorry. When we do everything we do, every action we do, we have to be aware. And we have to think, and we have to be mindful that the actions that we do could become a stumbling block in someone else. It doesn't mean to say, let's say you bump into someone and you didn't say sorry right away. So first of all, you should have said sorry, but you didn't say sorry. So now your action also could be a stumbling block for the other person to start screaming at you, right? So if Neiv L'Shita Michshol has many ramifications that are indirectly ramifications of Lifnei L'Shita Michshol. And yes, it makes us have to stop and reflect on our actions or what we're doing, right? That might be you might be putting a stumbling block in front of someone else, that they now have an opportunity to do an Aveira. Again, from their perspective, they have to overcome it, right? But from your perspective, right, we have to be careful, right? So let him go to a shir. I want to make this thing now, right? Let him go. I know, but you're still putting a stumbling. We're still not allowed to put a stumbling block in front of someone else. And again, this has many ramifications on just everything. You make a party somewhere, right? Think about where you're making it. Who are you inviting, right? You're going to make it on the beach, right? Okay, but some people, are going to have to. Maybe you don't care to go to the beach, but some people do care to go to the beach, but they're not strong on it. They might be wishy-washy on it, right? Wishy-washy is the wrong word. I apologize. Right? They might be sort of growing in this right now, but this will sort of push them. Okay, I have to go with my friends. Next time I'll work on it, right? Just an example, right? There's a kosher, right? There's someone I'm talking to right now, right? He's working on kosher and whatever, and he's, God willing, hopefully soon he's going to be making. Hopefully soon he'll be making a wedding, probably be about in a year, because some people wait years to make weddings after they're engaged, but whatever, right? And one of the things that we're talking about is to make the wedding kosher. I said, there's some people that might not, or whatever. You have to think about other people, right? Maybe you're not ready. Okay, I don't eat kosher all the time. Maybe some things I won't have pork, but there's some people that are growing, and it'll be a great example. Not only that, but a great show of your spirituality. But we have to be thinking about other people. Is not just, giving bad advice. It's also your actions, right? Or what you're doing could also be considered a stumbling block for someone else, even though it might not be a stumbling block for yourself. And that's, again, something that we have to be constantly aware of and think about. Okay, 1 second. One more thing. Okay, so go all the way to page 670, the end of the parsha. Right. So again, it's talking about do not go in the ways of their. Again, Parsha's Kedoshim has a lot of mitzvahs in it, right? But it says again, watch out, and it says, "Lo seiluchu b'chukas hagoyim," verse 23. Do not go in the ways of the non-Jews. Asher ani mishalach v'nechem, I'm going to send them in front of you. So over here, it doesn't say necessarily people of Canaan. It just says the nations of the world that I will send in front of you. So this is, some say this is sort of a prophecy that we're going to be sent out to amongst the nations of the world, right? Exile and things, everything's hidden in the Torah, everything's written in the Torah, right? And this is Hashem is telling you, yes, you will be sent out to the nations of the world, right? But make sure you don't go with them. For name ki es kol eila asu, right? This is all they did, right? And and then it says v'amar lachem. 1 second. Right? The next verse. I told you, you'll inherit this land. And I'll give it to you to inherit it. The land that flows milk and honey. Right? Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I am Hashem your God, that I have separated you from the nations. Right? So again, these verses in itself just speak volumes, just reading the English and seeing what they are. I just want to home in as we just sort of close this topic that we're talking about, from different parts of the parsha, we see a similar idea that we're talking about, right? But the Hashem ends off, I'm going to give you the land of the Eretz Yisrael, the land of milk and honey, right? Is coming on that I've separated you from the nations, and then right after it says, and then right afterwards also, you have to separate between kosher animals and non-kosher animals. This idea of Havdalah, of separating, right? Havdalah also we make a Saturday night, right? Motzei Shabbos, to separate from holy to non-holy. That's what Havdalah. Havdalah means to say to separate, right? So separating from kosher to non-kosher, separating from yourself and the nations of the world. If you read the Havdalah, all right, we speak about that. We speak in the Parsha Achrei, and we say the Havdalah there, right? It said that, and we say in other places, you separated us from the nations of the world. It's separated, right, from night and day, from Shabbos to weekday, right, from different holiness, right, and we have to realize that for whatever reason, right, our neshama, Hashem chose us, and we're lucky, right? But we are separate. We're different, right? And as long as we recognize that, then that's the key to be able to live a life as a Torah Jew, to be able to elevate ourselves. But when we forget that we are separate, we think we're just another nation in the world. We think it's just another people, and we're all the same. And the Americans and this and the Spanish and this and all the different peoples and all different cultures, we're all the same. We're all good. Kumbaya. We're all good family. We're all good. So then you won't be able to live your life, because then you're going to have to compromise, and you have to this, and you won't be able to live a life like that. But what we have to realize, it's part of our core belief. We don't look down on anybody, God forbid, and we don't judge anybody, and we don't say derogatory things about anybody. But at the same time, we have to realize that God chose us, right? Why? Take it up with him. I don't know, right? But he chose us, right? And we are the descendants of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and we have a special neshama inside of us that has this ability to live a life of Torah Jew, to be able Kedoshim, to be able to elevate ourselves, and that's our mandate. That's who we are, right? And when we realize that God separated us, and we are v'hivdalta, and that's why there's so many things that some of the mitzvahs that are said. We have to separate between kosher and non-kosher. We have to separate, even from the 6 years and the 7th year, we can do shmita. We can work the land. And if you see, there's a lot of things to show that there's different levels of holiness. Eretz Yisrael is more holy than the rest of the world. The Yerushalayim is more holy. The Holy of Holies is more holy. And there's different levels, and these are all to instill in us and to remind us and to give us this idea that we are also different, right? We are also different, right? And therefore we have a greater mandate to elevate this world and to live a life as a Torah Jew, and to try to also to Kedoshim here to try to elevate ourselves. May we all keep on working, and it's a life work, right? And to keep on taking that one step at a time, just like Sfirat Omer, it's one day at a time, right? We say today, day 1, day 2, day 3. So we spoke about an idea because it's climbing up, but also because we take one day at a time. We look at today, we work on today, right? And take that one day at a time, but aim towards becoming a Torah Jew, right? And aiming to Kedoshim too, to elevate ourselves. And one of the ways to be able to do that is, and a very strong way, is to remind ourselves that Hivdalta, Hashem separated us, and we have something special. And when we recognize that, we realize our responsibility, then that'll hopefully help us to keep on growing, and hopefully we'll be worthy to receive the Torah, and Mashiach will be here speedily nowadays. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.